Welcome to the $7 to $100 million podcast. I'm your host, Tim Warren, joined by Paul DeMott. We're the two founders at Helium. And in this podcast, if you are new, we are simply live streaming our morning stand-up debrief about the things we are learning as we're scaling a business from 7 million to 100 million. What are we learning? What are we finding out that we have to change? What is the good, the bad, and the ugly of that journey? So thanks for joining us, and hopefully this will be great information. If you're a smaller business watching and you want to learn how to scale, the point of this is to share all the stuff that we're learning and the mistakes we're making. Like Hermès says, get the story without the scar. And then for those of you who are bigger businesses, this will probably be, there could be helpful marketing information and things we're learning. We are a marketing agency. We're in the digital marketing space. And so we are, pretty far down the journey of really trying to improve our own marketing so that we show up more often. But Paul, let's talk pricing this morning. I've been starting to get kind of deep in the rabbit hole of this idea of pricing and premium and all of that. On acquisition.com, on their website, they have a bunch of free trainings that I actually didn't see before. There's some really good videos around pricing, offers, promotions, the different pieces of the different steps of everything, and he breaks things down in like 11, 12-minute videos. I mean, it's like an MBA essentially. It's really good stuff. A couple things that stood out to me I wanted to share this morning that I've been learning. Number one is he talked about when you niche. So he says the riches are in the niches. And I was like, okay, yeah, I got all that, right? Like, yeah, you can like only do HVAC and whatever, and then people know you're really good at HVAC. But it's actually deeper than that. I didn't pick up on that. Let me share what I learned. So he talks about in his video and in one of his books, he talks about if you sell time management courses, like let's say you have a time management course, and if you just have you write a book, it's in Barnes and Noble, and the book is like time management for professionals. He's like, you can sell that book for $19, right? Just a pretty commodity thing, $19, right?
Yep. He's
like, it'll do okay. He said, but then if you want to sell a course to sales professionals, you can probably do, time management for sales professionals. It's custom to them and it speaks to salespeople, and you charge $299, right? You charge $300. It's a course for sales professionals, but hey, it will help you be more efficient, right?
Yep.
And then he says, what if you went all the way, and he gives a couple examples. He said, what if you had a course that was epic time management for outdoor salespeople in the gardening and landscape equipment space?
Yeah, or like door-to-door sales for cable TV or something.
Right. Or yeah, like door-to-door roofing sales, time management to add $1 million to your pipeline or something, right? It's hyper targeted. He said you could sell that one for $1,900, right? Because you go to them and say, hey, it's $1,900, but this course will teach you how to make an extra $100,000 next year through better time management and sales.
Yep.
Right. So the ROI is really specific. So the point that he's making is he's saying when you have pricing, when you have really niche targeting to a market that has money, that has pain, that you can easily target, it allows you not just to speak to that market from a marketing standpoint, which made sense to me, but he said you can charge significantly more. So in that example, he's saying you can price the product 100 times more because it speaks so perfectly to that ideal customer. And he said this other thing about pricing that is like catching my attention now. He said when you look at prices, so he's talking about like Hermès or Chanel or these really high-end clothing brands that sell purses for like 20 grand, right? And it's like, why is it 20 grand? Well, they have gotten really good at creating products that are like one of a kind. Like that's the only Hermès purse like that. That's the only one. And it's this one of a kind. And like corporate doesn't say how many they're going to send. They don't sell them online. You can only get this thing here. And it's like $20,000. And so then people who have the means, they go to that store and they're like, oh my gosh, it's this one of a kind. I need it. Right. But normally a purse, you go to Walmart and a purse is like $12, right? Yeah. This idea of commodity versus like really, really premium, one of a kind.
Yeah.
So one thing he said is with your pricing, so I didn't actually know this, at Gym Launch, he said that the average competitor to Gym Launch, who was helping gyms fill their gyms, their product, their like license thing that they sold was $5,000. Right, it was $5,000. Like, hey, we'll help you fill your gym. Pay me $5,000. He said, he's like, a lot of people look at that and they either say, okay, I'll be $4,000, so I'll be a little cheaper and I'll add more value. But he said that that is a vicious cycle of you end up getting less and less money, then you can't deliver great service, and then it's just a constant race to the bottom, and then eventually everybody prices out, and then the market you lose.
Makes sense. Yeah.
What he did is he said he came in and said, I'm going to charge $16,000. That was his tier 1, and then his tier 2 was $126,000.
And what did he offer for $126,000? Was that him coming out to your place?
I don't know. Yeah. It was probably me and Lila will come and live with you for a month. I have no idea, right?
Yeah. Well, also this makes a lot of sense with his offers too, because I think the key of his offers is that they are paired with premium pricing. So then it's like, okay, well, that's expensive, but these offers, make it a lot less risky for me.
Right, exactly.
And exclusive. Yeah.
So, but here's what stood out to me when he was telling the story, and I was like listening to him tell the story of how he priced Gym Launch. He said that what he realized is if everyone's charging $5,000, right? So in our states, like we're an SEO company, so everyone's charging $3,000 a month, right? Or $5,000.
3 to 5. Yeah. We'll say like 3,000 probably.
Yeah. Or like, let's say $4,000 middle, like everyone's charging $4,000 a month. Okay. That would be us coming in and charging $12,000 a month. Right. And it's like, so then here's what happens. He said, when he did that, gym owners were like, okay, so everyone charges $5,000. And he comes in and says, well, mine's $16,000. And they're like, whoa. He says, what happens when you're so much more expensive is they look at your product differently, because they're like, okay, well, these aren't the same thing all of a sudden. Like, this is so much more expensive. This is totally different. This can't be in the same category.
So I thought we could pull this up so we could talk through it, because this is like probably the most comprehensive pricing study I've seen on SEO.
Yep, this one's really good. Yeah, so there's like the two biggest buckets. If you click on that one, are 500 to 1,000, right? So like the low cost, and 25 to 5, right?
And then look right here, like
right. And so my thinking before and how Helium is priced is, let's have a lot of packages in between the 25 to 5. We're not going to be in the 1K, because you cannot do good SEO for $1,000 a month. It's not even possible. It's not possible, right? And the churn on those is super high, because it's not possible to deliver good service there. Then it's like, let's go for the 25 to 5, because it's the biggest bucket of the next spend level, but it's more reasonable to be able to do the work. But here's what we've learned, right? We've learned that our clients that spend $15,000 a month and up get astronomically the best results. They're the happiest. They stay the longest, right? And it's like, right? Okay, so what are we learning here? So here's what Hormozi said. He said what happens is when someone's thinking about buying things, they look at multiple options. And then if you've got a $4,000 price, a $5,000 price, a $6,000 price, a $6,500, he said they lump all those together as like, okay, these are all these options. Then Hormozi would come in with Gym Launch and it was 16,000. And they're like, okay. So he said what happens is you become a category of one. You become a different category in the buyer's mind, because it's so much more expensive. That's like, okay, this is different than those. Why is this so much more expensive? But there's two things at play that he said works in our favor. Number one is people automatically assume the really high price thing is going to be better quality, better value, work better. They just automatically assume that, right? Which is pretty much always the case. Number two is the more somebody pays for something, the more emotionally invested they are. They actually physically, remember the wine study with like the 3 wines?
Yep.
People believed the taste of the most expensive wine was better. So he said by charging a lot more, you actually physically create value in the mind of the customer, right? They physically actually like the product better, because it's a bias where their brain's trying to connect why it costs so much. And then it causes them to be like, this does taste better. This was better. Wow, the service was better, because they want to believe that it was better, right?
Yeah.
So then you have all those forces. And then when he's like, hey, we're 16, and then the next one's 126, they're like, okay, this is totally different. And then they ask like, why is it so expensive? And then you have the floor to say, well, we're doing this, we're doing this, and then we do this. And it's a totally different approach because we can afford to do so. And he said what was crazy was that his competitors charged $5,000. He charged 16. And so he said, I could spend their entire revenue they collected, $5,000, just making the client's experience amazing because I didn't need the money. Mm-hmm. They can't do that because then they would have no profit. He's like, I still had, whatever, 14, or, he still had, $11,000 left over. Right. Yeah. And then that he can make money on and profit on after spending the entire amount of the other guy's revenue just to deliver this amazing experience. Right. And so he said and then that's like, wow, this was a great experience. And then those people refer customers, and that's how he got this awesome loop of referrals and advertising, whatever. So, I wanted to think about applying that to our business. Okay. Mm-hmm. These two things. So Hormozi's approach and what he used, his formula, I had to boil it down from what I've learned in all of his videos and his trainings, is that he finds a market that is growing, that has pain that he can target. He creates an offer that is ultra premium, that is just next level, category of one. And he goes after the buyer, and he creates this thing that's like, look, you've tried the rest, now try the absolute best, right? Mm-hmm. Then he makes sure the product delivery is amazing. He surprises and delights and makes it awesome, right? So that people are like, wow, those worth every dollar. And then they tell people and they refer, and then he gets this virtuous cycle. And he basically said he's built like 6 8-figure businesses. So it didn't work once, it's worked like 6 or 7 times. So it's this model. What I realized about our product, what I think we might be doing wrong, is I think I worked at it backwards from sales and said, what do people want to buy in the SEO space? Well, they want to spend $2,500 to $5,000. That's their budget. That's how much they want to spend. Mm-hmm. Therefore, we need to build packages in those ranges, right? Which is the reasonable thing from a sales perspective. However, that's the worst thing from a profit perspective and a effective delivery standpoint, because you don't have the money to really win and surprise and delight the client, because it becomes a commodity now.
Right. Well, one thing I was going to say really quick, I was thinking about Chris's company, the one that and we were just talking about how like they have such a higher, or such lower costs relative to revenue coming in for wages and stuff. Yeah. And I wonder how much of that is just that they have way few, like they might have the same number of clients as we do, but 3 times the revenue, because really, that's like
probably exactly true.
The biggest bottleneck on a person is each additional client, not how large that client is usually. So that might actually be the bigger piece of that, is actually the size of client. Because like if we took all of our clients today and made them, like from like the price they are today to like the price that you're talking about, if we had 120 clients, we are now like double, triple our company. We're probably like 4 times the size of our company.
Right. And also I've heard this, it's easier to have fewer big customers than lots of small customers because of just operational drag. There's fewer people to manage, there's fewer customers to manage, there's fewer relationships to manage, like
talent can scale further.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, all right, so here's what I wanted to talk through, just like as we process through this live, but also just from an actual like executionary standpoint, is how do we best apply this? Okay. What I was thinking about this morning is we've done this sometimes, right? So we sold a deal like 2 months ago, $24,000 a month. The client's budget going into the call was $8K per month. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't use this approach at all of like, what's your budget? Let's try to be let's have an option 25% above, an option 25% below, and then an option right at the budget, which is historically what we've done, right? For this one, we came in and we said, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals? They gave us their goals. And we said, okay, how much do you think that's going to cost to do that well? And they're like, we're not sure. We're afraid it's going to be expensive. And we're like, well, it is, because you have a lot of locations. So a lot of locations times any amount of money for SEO is going to be a large amount of money, right? And they really liked that, because like that makes total sense. That is what we were afraid of. And we're like, yep. But we can do it for less than you are worried it's going to be, but for a lot more than what you've budgeted for it's going to be. Right?
Yeah.
And so then what actually helped was we anchored them. We're like, it's not going to be 50,000 a month, right? Which would be this reasonable percentage right here if you did every location spent this. But we can do it for 24,000 a month or 25,000 a month, right? And they're like, oof, that's triple the budget, but that makes sense why it actually should be 50, but it's half of 50. Okay. So we sold it as like premium, but actually cheaper than what it really should be.
Yeah. And I'd say, I think a really big part of that is that the whole sales process was premium.
Super premium.
We did a ton of research up front that most companies would have done over the first 3 months of the deal. We had data that they'd never seen before, analysis they'd never seen before. We could highlight how other people would approach it and how we would approach it differently. So we invested up front in the sales process, but then when we did that, we were able to get the premium charge.
Right. So we have clients spending 20 grand a month, 25 grand a month, 30 grand a month, 35 grand a month. And what we have learned is the clients who spend the most are the happiest and stay the longest. The clients who spend the least are the least happy, get the least results, and churn faster because they have less budget. Their businesses are probably smaller. They're more volatile. So, Paul, I wanted to throw this out there and I want to get your thoughts. So there's a couple directions we could go here, but I wanted to see what you were thinking in terms of like how we work on improving our pricing. Number one is we could rebuild our smaller programs to be more focused on profit, like more profitable, right? Than larger revenue, but they drive more profit. And so it's better for us, right? Like a good example of that is if what we've learned now is meeting time and the consultation piece is about 56% of the cost of our delivery. That's a huge chunk of the delivery versus the content and links, which is the actual SEO, is like 21%, right? So if we, like, for example, here's a thought I had. What if we took our $3,000 package and we said, okay, to make that thing actually profitable, like our consultation starts at our $6,000 package, where you really get a team and consult and like expert advice for $6,000 and above. And our $3,000 package, you get the SEO and you get the best team, but you don't get meetings. Because meetings would require us to double the price of the package so that we can really deliver great SEO, but also great consultative advice. And consultation, like the problem is consultation doesn't stop. So if we're consultative with you and we're giving advice, you're going to ask us. I mean, I was on a kickoff yesterday, right? This is just how it goes. It's a moving company. We get on there and our program is like, we're going to do your ads, we're going to do your SEO. And then he's like, my Google reviews keep getting deleted, right? Like on my things, like what is happening here? And our team is immediately in there trying to help him solve this problem, which is a totally ancillary problem that does affect his digital marketing, his SEO and SEM, but like it's definitely an ancillary.
It wasn't scoped in, yeah. It wasn't. It was like, yeah, and that's why I think we, like I definitely believe that work fills kind of the space that you give it, but also it kind of fills the. Like if you've got a lot of clients, I just think that you find a way to divide your time across all of them. No one is like, oh, I'm only going to spend this amount of time on this amount of time on this, unless that's like enforced from like a high level. Right. And so what happens today is like, if you've got 40 hours of work, you may not have like a too large of a book of business to handle, but like, you might get pulled into a problem like that, spend 3 hours right there that wasn't scoped for in the project, 4 hours into another thing. And it's just basically your capacity fills the space that the number of clients that you have.
Well, and the other thing too is we teach our team to be consultative and to try to help the client and like win for the client. Yeah. Because like if the client's spending $5,000 a month, like so this client's spending $5,000 a month roughly. And we want to keep them happy. And that $5,000 client can grow to become a $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 client. And they do all the time. We grow our accounts. But it's because the service is great. And so they're like, man, you guys really help. And no matter what problem I have, I bring it to you guys and you help me. It's kind of the Zappos model, right? You could call Zappos and they'd help you book a flight, right? That's how good their customer service was. And I loved that. And then people bought from Zappos. So that's probably why our retention's so high and why our churn has continued to go down, and like that consultative approach. The problem is the consultative approach, there's no good way to shut it off. There's no way to be like, I'm going to be super consultative, but only once a month. That's it, right? Like it feels bad. It makes the client experience go down.
Yeah.
Right. It'd be the same as going to a really high-end restaurant, right? And then the waiter is like, he's like, oh, welcome to the nice restaurant. I am your waiter. I will give you all the things you need. You can ask me to come to your table 4 times. That is it. Right. Right. And they're like, whoa, what does that mean? And now all of a sudden we're like, wait, how many times? If I ask for a water, does that count? Like, I'm going to be super consultative, but only 4 times. Like, and now we're like arguing and debating what this is going to look like. And now I have scarcity, and like, it ruins the whole experience. Right. It just wouldn't work well. They'd get a bunch of bad reviews because they're like, wow, the waiter said he's only going to talk to me 4 times total. And like, even if I want to order dessert, like, I ran out of times. It's just going to suck. Right. It's not going to work. So then they just have to charge premium, so then they can afford to have enough waiters and the staff and whatever, or servers or whatever they're called now. Whatever people at restaurants are called. Yeah, servers. So all right, so here's my like question for you, Paul, is do we want to try to keep the lower end packages and then take out the expensive stuff? Right? If it was a car, we take out the turbo and we take out the extra cylinders, and we it still looks like a BMW, but it's not. Right? We have the cheaper option. So we take out the meetings. So like one thought is like we have the $3,000 product, but we take out the meetings. So we take out the consultation. So then that's for people who are like, oh, how expensive is it to get good consultation? It's double the price. They're like, oh wow, I don't want to pay double. That's a lot more. Yeah, it is. Like, well, can I get it without that? Sure. That's this product, right? So I think that's one option. Mm-hmm. The problem is though, is like, what do we want our brand to be known for? And like, what do we want the brand to represent? And
yeah, I think like we lived this recently with a vendor, and like no kickoff meeting, no like ongoing meetings. And
good point. And it was a disaster. We hated it so much.
Yeah. And you just like, I don't know, like it's still, to some businesses that we're selling, like even $3,000 a month is a big commitment to try to grow. And like, I also think that our product requires a fair bit of communication with the client that's best done in a meeting. So like if we pick keywords and they're just not in alignment with like their business objectives or where their margin is,
right,
we can like basically build a whole plan that's like disconnected from their business goals. And so I kind of view it almost as necessary to meet frequently. And so especially early on, the problem is if you start meeting a lot early on, you set the expectation, and then how do you can't really get out of it then too, like, because it's a bad experience to go like, oh man, this person was really involved early on, great customer service, now they're like not here, like it's not worth it anymore. So it's always the last month that they're evaluating, did they get value from our effort? So yeah, so it doesn't, a lower price option with no meetings feels like a product that doesn't work or doesn't retain. So, but I don't know the exact answer yet. So I do like the idea of the just like having like everybody we pitch, we just have a higher option that is more involved. So I need to think on this. Yeah.
No, so I want to throw a couple ideas out there, and I think this will be good for the businesses listening as well. But the conclusion I've come to is business is all about profit. Ultimately, you're trying to drive profit. That's why we show up to work every day. It's not just revenue; it's profit. You can't always perfectly predict how profitable we're going to be on every single deal, but I think we need to work our way to that so we know exactly what everything's going to cost. Let's say we wanted to raise our profit by 25%, or to ensure that we had a 25% net profit on every deal. Well, one immediate thing we could do, Paul, is we just raise all of our prices by 25%, and then we drive immediately 25% more profit, right? That's one thing we can do. And then we just simply say, we're the best at what we do. Another option that we go for is we're already doing this sometimes. Now, I think the concern that I have is, do we have enough of the higher end leads to sell enough deals to do this without really decreasing our sales volume? Is if we try to go ultra premium right out of the gate, and like the thing you showed, right? It's like, hey, we're 10K a month and above, and it's 10 to 50K a month, and it's like really, really good. Like it's elite. That's what
we also don't have I'd say brand authority in any given niche to necessarily come across as a premium offer, like take like a Hennessy business or something like that, like Jason Hennessy's.
Yeah.
Like he's well known in this, like once you're well known in the space, in any space, like everyone just expects you to be a premium cost.
I have an interesting idea I want to kind of roll out just to think about. We've talked about this before. If you look at we sold a $13,000 deal to a moving company. We sold a $24,000 deal to a franchise. We're pretty close to getting like a $15,000 deal to another franchise. We have a client who's been spending, between $10,000 and $30,000 a month with us, from like SEO across the whole nation. If you look at a lot of our large clients, they're multi-location businesses who want elite SEO, right? We don't even do paid for them. We just do their SEO. And it's something that they've not been able to crack themselves, and they've not been able to find. Remember the PE firm we talked to? They're like, we've never been able to find a company who actually is amazing at SEO, right? And it's a pain point, but they've got money to spend. So Paul, I want to throw this out there. We have not picked an industry niche, right? We've not picked like HVAC or manufacturers or whatever, okay? Which I think we could. But I'm starting to see a trend. What if the trend is Helium is the elite level provider for if you have more than 15 locations as a business, or you like SEO could drive you millions in sales, then Helium is your best option. We are the most elite provider of SEO for multi-location businesses, or multi-location retail, or multi-location franchise, or whatever. Mm-hmm. What if we branded ourselves like that? And then we're not only in one industry. We can work across a bunch of different industries. But I think the key takeaways are, when we meet with those kind of companies and we show them our data, our tech, our stuff, they're pretty blown away, right? They're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So they have the budget to pay for it. They have a major pain we can solve. The people that they have today are not solving it, right? They have real money to spend. And we could surprise and delight them because we could charge a premium and make it expensive, but for them it's like really worth the money. So that's a unique niche. That would be an interesting way to go about it. That's different than what other people are doing. So it could give us a leg up and an advantage. And it'd be kind of hard to copy with a moat because all the tech we have. Yeah. So it's just one thought. The hard thing would be how to target them, but that is actually we're already selling elite or premium deals in that niche right now. What if that became the niche?
Yeah, I think that would be a great niche. The only challenge we're gonna have is how do we get leads there? But at the same time, that's probably the problem to solve. How do we get leads in that space? And with Facebook, for example, it's relatively straightforward. We start specifically creating creative to those people. Google Ads, it's a lot less clear how to like get somebody that's in that boat. And then there's probably like
we could even do account-based marketing too.
What's that?
We could do account-based marketing. Like
account-based marketing could be big.
So we can start targeting all of the large franchisors. We target all of the large chains. We target all of these businesses that have tons of locations. I mean, PetSmart's a good example of that, right? Like their client, 800 locations. And like those, what I like about those type of brands is there's a big tailwind already. So they have a lot of branded. So then non-branded can really work well for them because people are like, oh, PetSmart. Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't know they sold chinchillas or whatever. And then they go to PetSmart, and then they go in and they buy other stuff, right? For a plumbing company, right? If you Google and you see a name you recognize, if you don't see them in your city, you're like, oh, they're not my city. But they show up like, oh, yeah. So like multi-location retail, like whereas in e-com, what we found is like e-com businesses are probably already good at SEO, or they're internally, or they probably don't get to be big enough to even buy from Helium. But multi-location retail or multi-location franchise or multi-location service can get big without doing SEO well, but will not go to the next level without great SEO. And they probably don't have it in-house.
Yeah, and they have the budget for it. So
Yes.
I do agree that's like, to me, a pretty straightforward place. Like if we could focus on there and get more leads there, I'm sure we would win. This is just a thought that I had that I wanted to think through out loud, which is, I was just thinking of like the accounts you're talking about, and in all those cases, the recent ones, maybe not all, but most of them, I was involved in the sales process, and I built or put together something very unique for that sale. So potentially, what if like, so it could be that those are great leads, but what if also like a differentiator is that like in the sales process, we've kind of developed like a really unique tech process that is different than what anyone else ever sees on those. So like we close those ones, but like how I can't think of many accounts, many calls I've been pulled on that haven't been those location ones recently. Maybe there have, but I can't think of it. And so maybe what we're seeing there is less of like it's the multi-location and more that like on the call we're showing them something totally unique to what everybody else is showing them that makes sense logically for how we get them from point A to point Z that they're trying to achieve. So that's just like another thought, because like what if, and that could be totally wrong, but like what for example, like what if there are other deals out there that are like different in nature that we sell a lower price because they're not as like compelled by like the tech and stuff and the whole outline of strategy in the sales process. And then maybe then the solution is maybe we look at some of those and we say like, how do we actually make that experience feel premium? And then maybe the premium price then is more inviting to them. The benefit to that, so would just be that we could actually take what we have already that's already kind of working and now have a process to like kind of push more upstream with those customers. Like, and that maybe doesn't work. The challenge that we'll have with the multi-location is just that those businesses there are fewer of those businesses. They're going to be harder to get leads from, but I do think that's an approach that could work. We may just have to solve for how to get those leads. So just something else I was thinking through is like, is the difference actually like all those characteristics we talked about, or also that like we are pitching them something more premium?
Okay, that's a really good thing to think through. All right. I think the premium pitching is definitely part of it. Remember the moving companies. The moving company we sold, they have an SEO firm. Their current budget's $6,000 a month, and they're not doing badly, right? They're not doing badly. Why did they buy from us? And we came in and we pitched them 13, which is more than double, right? And we probably could have charged 15 or 16, and they probably would have gone for it, right? If it was like, we probably could have charged more, right? I mean, Hermès said if people don't gasp when you throw out the first price, like you're too low, right? They should gasp like, oh snap, like holy crap. And I was like, what? And now I see why, is because when they see the purse, they're like 20 grand.
It's actually something, it's funny because that's something you used to say, like when we started Helium, you used to say that all the time.
I know, I did. And then what changed, I think, was I did say that, and that was how I ended my last company, because as we were growing, we started going really premium and selling the premium bigger deals or whatever. And so I realized that, but then also you have to have enough lead flow to do that effectively, right? So I thought about even with Helium's journey, we started out, remember the first deal we ever pitched? was like a car website, and we came in and I was like, dude, let's like, they got money. This is a big company. Like, let's swing for the fences. So I think we pitched them like 18,000 a month or something. We pitched them something like legit, right? And you guys were all like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? Like, this is so much money. I'm like, no, let's go for it. And we had a consult, we had an in or whatever. And I think we actually eventually got the client, not right away though. But what killed us is they were like, how many clients do you guys have? We're like, well, we've done this work before in my last company. Like, yeah, but this company, we're like, you'd be our first client. They're like, we're not going to be your first client and pay 18,000 a month. Dang it.
It's funny. It's kind of related subject, but you know, the RFP thing that we just did last week. Literally, well, so that got sent to them, and the first email
I saw
was
it was literally like, what are all the franchise sites you built from start to finish? And you were like, Paul, good call. Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what they wanted to know.
But it's also funny because like literally the slide deck shows like all those websites. So
so he didn't even read it. Like, did you read slide 5? Like, nah. Okay, cool. All right, so Paul, then if you remember, we're like, all right, we need to get some clients. So then we went down and we're like, let's do $1,000 a month, SEO only, no contract. Let's get accounts in here. Like, let's get clients in here. So then we did that, and then we started going back up market. So I think the mistake we made was, I think we stayed in the smaller bucket too long, because we have sold premium deals, and we have done the premium ones, but I think we have interspersed those throughout just more commodity level, and the commodity level is where it's hard to make money. So so I think we'll need to talk more about this offline, but here's, I think, the decision we have to make. Do we want it to be BMW, and then all the BMWs are just expensive, right? Like, they just are expensive. They're BMWs, right? That's their motto. So if we say like, look, we just can't offer premium service for less than $8,000 a month. That's just what it is, right? So Paul, to your point, what you're saying is, do we sell the more expensive packages because we do a premium sales process with really unique data? Or is it we do that because we know they can spend more, and they can spend more, and then we do that process and then it works? Because there are definitely leads that we get in, and like, so like I looked at our average sale, our average revenue for the last 6 months of the deals that we've closed, and we closed like 10 new clients so far this month, is $4,500 a month. It's the average revenue, right? So we got ones way above that, we have ones below that. That's the average. And so just taking all the numbers and dividing by whatever. And so let's call it 5,000. Okay. So if the average is 5,000, if we want to get that to 10,000, right, that would be great. We'd have to double it. But at the moment right now, like, there's a good amount of those clients that are spending 4,000 that are not, probably, no matter how good we do in a sales process, I don't think they'd spend 8 or 10 with us. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong because we're just not pitching it as a category of one and something really important, like that's really unique. I could actually just be totally wrong about that. So we should probably test this. We should probably test it and see, because I actually don't know the answer to that. I don't know if they're not buying the purse for 20 grand because no one's selling them that, so they don't even think about it, or if they're like, I'm not ever spending 20 grand on a purse, right? And it's like, got it. And they're just not the buyer. So I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know either. And I think it really could be either option. I mean, when we think about purses, most people you run into aren't going to buy the $20,000 purse, even if you're trying to sell it to them.
Right. Right. It's a super premium thing.
Yeah. And so those companies have thrived from targeting their ICP basically really effectively. So if today our targeting is not that great and we go upstream, I think there's a good chance that it just, there's no further conversation when they hear our pricing.
Targeting is going to be really important.
Yeah.
So
there's
right
a lot
now, probably what we need to do, Paul, is maximize the profit we can at the level of leads that we're getting, and then work on continuing to go up market. So we're getting the leads of companies who can spend a lot more.
Right. And and I think too, like even on the marketing side, like Google and Facebook, like we are like, it's going to be this kind of small, like march uphill basically every day to like get the leads to be better and better. Like we have to like test ads. We have to run the ads. We have to see, do the ads produce better leads? You got to kill the ones that don't. And it's like we're
Right.
constantly cutting the edges off and replacing them on both Google and Meta, and feeding these algorithms data. And so, I think it's going to take time before the leads get to the place where it's like everybody you could pitch like a really crazy, or not crazy, but like you could pitch a premium price to. But today, I definitely think today, if we did that, it wouldn't work. So I like the idea of thinking of how we can kind of achieve two things, which is like improve profitability on our packages, but then also make our packages more effective for that size client as well. So like align more with what they want, but then also achieve the part of what they want is achieving the outcomes. So can we make them better from an outcome standpoint too? So I think we should just go through all the packages and revise them for those with those two goals in mind. I think like every year or so we probably just need to go through the exercise of like refitting what we're selling.
Yeah, agreed. All right, well, we're out of time for today's episode, guys. We hope you've enjoyed. I know I have, and Paul, I think we got more conversations on the pricing and profitability, but I think what I'm learning is that pricing is probably one of the if not the one or two biggest levers for profitability is how you price, and the value people see in the product. So it's been a great episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one.